Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Don't worry, ladies, I'm disease-free. Hello, I'm Bradley the Middleman, your middle-aged middle manager from Middle London, here today with another... Hey, what are you doing? I'm doing a breakdown of Moon... You don't do the breakdowns, I do the breakdowns. But I already started with the joke. Your joke was terrible, Bradley. Hand over control. No, I'm gonna be a YouTube star. You're out of your depth here, Bradley. I thought I was doing right good, bruv. Bradley, I can save this. Give me the body. Okay, just this one time, then I want it back. I don't want to miss the finale of Severance. Hey everyone, I'm Brent the Middleman here. Sorry about that. I've been a little, off lately. But I'm back now and ready to jump into my breakdown of the awesome second episode of Marvel's Moon Knight. So give over control to your personality that nerds out on the MCU, because here we go. The episode begins with Steven waking back up at his flat, that's English for apartment, understandably freaked out about what happened the night before. If you don't recall, he was attacked by a jackal and had to give his Mark personality control so he could turn into Moon Knight and jack that jackal up. As he heads into work the next day, we get a cool upside down shot symbolizing how Steven's life got flipped turned upside down. He tells a security guard who can never remember his name, which could be a sign that he's used different names by accident before, that he isn't going to believe what he sees on the security tapes. Steven says it's some Area 51 MI6 stuff. Area 51 is, of course, the American military base where many people think the US government may be hiding proof of alien life, and MI6 is the British agency that James Bond works for. They take a look at the footage from last night, and all they can see is Steven running around by himself. At this point, we are all thinking, is the guy with multiple personalities actually nuts? Yes, an ironic question to ask, but something the show does a great job of setting up. There are little clues, though, that the jackal was really there, just invisible. There is one point where Steven is running to the bathroom, and we see a noise register when the jackal hits a display, but we don't see the jackal. The security guard asks Steven, "What are you doing, you donut?" Donut is British slang for idiot. The last thing we can see on the security footage is Mark walking out of the bathroom area. He stops and looks directly into the camera, probably because he knew Steven would be watching the next day. Mark must have known this would cost him the job in the gift shop, but maybe he realized that this cover is blown and it would be time to move on. Steven is called into the manager's office where, before being fired, he is given a pamphlet for psychiatric hospital. This whole scene, I was wondering if the manager was part of Arthur Harrow's Amit cult, and if this hospital is run by his followers. I had the feeling we will find out soon. Steven is asked if he has any museum property on him, and that's when he pulls out the locker key and phone, really just to show us that he has that stuff with him. We all get hit in the feels when Steven has to hand over his name tag. The poor guy just wanted to teach kids about horrific ancient Egyptian burial practices. Steven then stops by to visit his golden statue friend, who will most likely turn out to be Crawley, his street-level informant from the comics. Steven says if he can find the locker and the scarab, then it will prove that he's not crazy. Remember, he is saying this to a guy who never talks back or even looks at him, so yeah, he will need to do more than just find the scarab to prove he's not crazy. Oh, and did anyone else catch the statue guy's eyes move when Steven hugs him? After a few tries, Steven ends up locating the right storage place, and the security guy recognizes him. We see that the lights are motion censored, popping on and off as they walk down the hall. They get to the locker, and we can see a QR code. If you use your phone camera on the code, it will take you to a website with an issue of Werewolf by Night, the comic series that Moon Knight character originally appeared in. In the locker, we get more reflective surfaces, and we can see that Mark not only stored stuff here, but also slept in here. The way the cot is set up and how everything is neatly folded is a big clue that Mark was in the military at some point. Steven finds a duffel bag with a gun and a bunch of foreign currency, including Chinese yuan, the red bills, along with a passport belonging to Mark Spector. While Steven looks around, Reflection Mark tries to stop him from finding anything, even telling him to just lie down for a nap so he can take over and finish the mission. Steven wants nothing to do with the mission though, and grabs the bag to take to the police. Obviously Konchu, "Oh, God bless you, will you stop with the jokes?" "Alright, sorry bruv." Anyway, Konchu is not too happy about this and chase Steven down the hall in a very cool scene. We see the motion lights being triggered, even though Konchu is invisible to the security cameras and anyone but Steven, but he looks incredible. The design and the voice are just awesome. Steven, freaking out, runs into the street where he falls just as Layla pulls up. He first sees her upside down, just like when he entered the museum, showing how he is trying to get his head around everything that is happening. While they are riding back, she tells Steven that they're married, and he seems pretty happy about this. She also lets him know that she thought he was in trouble and found him by tracking his phone. Steven takes her back to his place, and understandably, Layla is just confused. Reflection Mark pleads with Steven to not involve her, but Steven is smitten and doesn't want to hear it. We find out that Steven and Layla like the same French poet, and they both have extensive knowledge of ancient Egypt. It's almost as if Mark put all the things he loves about Layla into his Steven personality. Layla gives Steven the divorce papers Mark sent her but didn't sign, and we learn that Mark has been trying to keep Layla safe by distancing himself from her. But Steven totally ruins this when he shows Layla the scarab. That's when the cops knock on the door, but we get a clue right away that they are probably not real policemen. They give their names as Fitzgerald and Kennedy, which to Americans jump out right away as John F. Kennedy's middle name and last name, but don't seem to set off any alarm bells for the British Steven and Layla. They end up finding the passport and take Steven away, while Layla hides out on the roof with the scarab. In the car, they show Steven Mark's police record calling out a massacre at a dig site in Egypt where some archaeologists were killed. There is a chance that Layla may be based partially on the comic book character Marlene Alrane, who was the daughter of an archaeologist who was killed by Raoul Bushman. This massacre of archaeologists could be setting up Layla to be one of their daughters, which could also bring Bushman into the show at some point. There's a chance that this was also when Mark was mortally wounded and saved by Konchu. God bless you. God, I hate you. Anyway, instead of going to the police station, they bring Steven to a bad area of town and get out of the car. Steven and Mark argue, as usual, not realizing that Arthur Harrow has been listening the whole time in order to find out if Steven and Mark were faking or actually insane. Steven also sees that the cops, and everyone else around him, have the scales tattoos. Harrow then takes Steven to his lair, and I loved how you could hear the crunching glass sound as Harrow walked, especially when he kicked the soccer ball. He tells Steven how he is building a better society, but nobody wants to hear about it because, like my ex-wife, they only want to talk about the bad stuff. Ethan Hawke does a great job making Harrow menacing yet likable. He has his people growing food and sharing resources and learning languages to make them appreciate each other's culture. It's really pretty awesome. Oh, and there's goats, so that's cool. They also get to sit around and watch dolphin videos. I mean, come on, sign me up. I know I haven't been perfect, but I have a hunch Amit really wants to keep the bad people around and eats the souls of the good people, because we all know that not only are good souls more tasty, but good people are also pretty useless when times get tough. Harrow introduces Steven to Victor from the Yucatan, telling him that he's very funny, but I'll be the judge of that, my friend. Harrow then makes a comment that upsets Konchu, God bless you, ugh, and he bangs into a cart, knocking some things over. Harrow tells Steven that he shouldn't be afraid. All Konchu, God, don't do it, can do is make noise, but he can't actually hurt anyone, that's why he needs an avatar. Harrow also says that he throws tantrums and none of the gods respect him, and that's why he is banished. Is he banished from the Ennead? But isn't Amit banished as well? We also learn that Konchu only brings justice to people that deserve it, and that Harrow was his former avatar. I wonder if Harrow started using his powers to kill people before they did something bad, and this is why Konchu packed up his stuff and left while Harrow was out shopping for new sandals. And Amit was aware of this somehow and swooped in for sloppy seconds. Or maybe Konchu just decided to move on, and this left Harrow bitter, so he sought out another god to represent. Or Harrow didn't like being the Fist of Justice and said, you can't fire me, I quit, and now he punishes himself for all his killing with the glass and the sandals, while trying to use Amit's power to build a better world. It would definitely make Harrow an amazing villain if he really wanted to do good deep down, but was just manipulated by vengeful gods with a different agenda. Steven definitely has an issue with Amit's way of doing things, calling her an evil crocodile lady. Harrow lets Steven know that the scarab will lead him to Amit's tomb, so he can bring her back to eradicate evil. Trying to get Steven and Mark to give up the scarab, he tells Mark that he knows what Konchu promised him, that he just needs to do one more mission, but that he is a liar. Yeah, he definitely sounds bitter. Steven then finds a way to get under Harrow's skin, asking if Amit would kill a child if she knew it would be evil. Harrow compares that to amputating a limb to save the whole body. At this point, we notice that his whole crew is gathered around and is watching. Steven asks them if they're all into child murder, and we could tell by their silence that the answer's yes, absolutely, they'd kill children. Harrow then references his cane, saying that it was a gift from Amit to her first avatar, and it contains just a sliver of her power. First avatar. I wonder who this could have been. Was it Apocalypse back in Egypt? Or maybe Ramatut, a version of Kang the Conqueror who ruled Egypt for a time? That would tie it in nicely to the other MCU stories that are going on. Harrow starts pressuring Steven for the scarab, and that's when Layla shows up for some reason, which I can't really figure out, other than she just likes a fight. She tells Steven to summon the suit, which is the title of the episode, and of course, Steven has no idea what she's talking about. She hands him the scarab and they take off running while Harrow summons a jackal. The line about dying in an evil magician's man cave was great, and then Layla not being able to see the jackal definitely made me think for a minute that maybe Steven is actually insane. The jackal tosses Steven out the window and Konchu yells, "Summon the suit!" I think it's interesting that Konchu doesn't make the suit appear, that Steven and Mark have to summon it. Or are they going to realize that Konchu doesn't have as much power as they think? Or is it just his threats of using Layla as an avatar that will keep them being Moon Knight? Anyway, we get a really cool shot of Steven falling out the window and doing a superhero landing dressed as Mr. Knight from the comics. In the comic story, Mr. Knight is the Stephen Grant version of Moon Knight, but he's more of a detective who works with the police. Now, maybe this will happen at some point, but for now they mostly play it for laughs. And honestly, I really enjoyed it. Of course, Steven doesn't know what they mean by a suit, so he summons his version of a suit. And the costume is sick. From the glowing eyes to the bright white to the mummy wraps on the shoes, it just looks incredible. And I know we are going to see a ton of Mr. Knight Halloween costumes this year. Reflection Mark is totally confused, saying he was supposed to summon the ceremonial armor from Konchu's temple, but instead he looks like a psycho Colonel Sanders. Which is fitting because Steven is both psycho and a chicken. Then we get the fight between Mr. Knight and the invisible jackal, which was definitely very Fight Club, but also very cool. When Layla throws the bottle and the liquid shows the outline of the jackal, and then the jackal tosses them both around, it was really well done. That's when Steven tries to box the jackal, which is fitting since Mark had a boxing background in the comics. And Steven says, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, my name is Steven with a V." The actual line was from what Muhammad Ali used to say, which was, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, he can't hit what his eyes can't see." This would have actually fit pretty well too with there being an invisible jackal. Steven actually lands a shot and screams, "Wagwan, I did it! You got planted!" Wow, very British. Wagwan is slang in London for what's going on or what's up, and getting planted I think is pretty obvious. He put him in a pot with dirt and watered him until he grew big and strong. The jackal isn't down long though and fights Steven in the middle of the street, with the people standing around watching thinking he's just a fancy drunk. Finally, after getting slammed into a double-decker bus, Steven gives over control to Mark, and we get to see Moon Knight in action. Layla recognizes that Mark is back and tells him to get the jackal out of there. Mark climbs a building and takes off running, and it looks fantastic. Especially the leap across the buildings, the shot we saw in the trailers. Mark gets the jackal to chase him over by a park with a conveniently placed statue with a spear, and hooks him with the Moon Knight weapon thingy and impales the jackal on it. Sick. The jackal then turns to sand, yeah, very Egyptian, returning Mark's moonerang back to him. Are they moonrangs or moonerangs? As Moon Knight turns back into Mark, he realizes he lost the scarab. Layla is on her bike and sees a homeless guy give the scarab to Harrow, who then promptly kills him. Okay, maybe he isn't so great. I don't even think he judged that guy. Back to Mark, who sees Steven in a reflection now, and Steven doesn't like being trapped in mirrors for obvious reasons. The mirror he sees him in is part of a pyramid or obelisk-shaped statue. Yep, more Egypt, baby. Mark tells him that something is different now, that the person in control of the body has more power. Mark promises Steven that after he repays his debt to Konchu for saving his life, that he'll give the body back over to Steven. Steven is pissed about how Mark treated Layla, but we learn that Konchu actually wants Layla to be the new Avatar, and Mark is just trying to keep that from happening. I guess being the fist of justice isn't all it's cracked up to be. Steven is pissed and says he's gonna haunt Mark, and Mark puts a quick end to that by smashing the glass. Easy peasy. That's when Konchu shows up and he's pissed. Sounds like Mark swore to him that Steven wouldn't be a problem, and Konchu is thinking Mark is acting a bit ungrateful since he saved his life and all. He then drops the threat about Layla, and it just reinforces that Mark isn't really being Moon Knight to help people, he's just doing it to keep Layla out of it. This is an interesting choice for the character, because I don't know about you, but I want my Moon Knight to like being Moon Knight and like helping people. But maybe Mark and Steven will learn to appreciate it by the end. Finally, Konchu tells Mark he needs to go and stop Harrow, and also tells him that he will use all his power to protect him, that he is worth protecting. Dang, I wish I could find someone who says stuff like that to me. This gets Mark to change his tune, and he tells him that he'll do whatever it takes. Can I also take a minute to point out how cool Konchu looks? The floating head, the loose hairs hanging down, just awesome. Mark asks Konchu where they need to go, and Konchu says, "Where the hell do you think?" That's when we get the drunken apocalypse now broken mirror in the hotel room scene, with Steven trapped in the mirror with bloody knuckles, looking super bummed, like he was punching the mirror from his side. Mark gets up and goes to the window, and we see that he's in Cairo, and he got the pyramid view suite. Nice. In the room, I noticed an empty pill bottle on the nightstand, and it looks like he's been in there a while. We get the credits and a cool Egyptian hip-hop song with plenty of moon and ancient Egyptian imagery. Once again, another stellar episode, and I'm really enjoying the show so far. The Moon Knight action is great, and I love the way they are showing the dissociative identity disorder. It seems like in the next episode, we will see Mark try to stop Harrow from bringing back Amit, and I wonder if Steven will somehow pop up and screw it up. They were working nicely as a team for a second there, but Steven is super pissed, and he seems intent on taking back the body for good. This could lead to him getting locked up in the mental hospital or checking himself in, while Harrow and Amit start going all Judge Judy on the whole world. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown or recap or whatever this was, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the show and your theories about where things are going in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and who knows, maybe one day I can get out of middle management. I'll be back soon with more videos on Moon Knight, Raised by Wolves, Severance, From, and more, so please keep an eye out for those. Once again, I'm Brent the Middleman, and I'm Bradley, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.